And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week. For weeks, I've been talking about three things that have held back Pennsylvania's economy. Two of them are talked about by a lot of folks, namely high taxes, because if you tax something, you get less of it. And when you allow people to keep more of what they earn and decide for themselves how their hard-earned dollars are spent, the economy ultimately prospers. And so lower taxes is fundamentally important to economic growth. So is sensible regulation. And regulation at its core is a tax, because all the costs that are associated with excessive regulation ultimately get passed on to consumers. So do the delays in the permitting process, which cost companies and consumers money. But one of the things that I've always added to those two elements is one that most don't talk about in terms of the economy, and that's the impact of public corruption. Because companies simply don't want to go to a place where they have to, quote unquote, pay to play. Nor do companies want to expand and create more jobs where they know some palm has to be greased in order to do business, or where the regulatory process is going to require somebody getting taken care of in order to get through. This week in Philadelphia, a public corruption case ended with the conviction of both a member of City Council and the leader of one of the most powerful unions in the state. I immediately called for City Councilman Bobby Heenan to resign. It is beyond me how we can allow a person who has been convicted of a crime, particularly one against the public trust, to continue to take a taxpayer paycheck. Now, legally, he's allowed to stay until he's sentenced, and that's what he says he's going to do. He did give up his committee assignments, which I called on City Council to revoke and rescind if he wasn't willing to do that. And I've also called for Josh Shapiro to resign. I did that the day before he announced his candidacy for governor. And unfortunately, only one other Republican candidate has joined me in that call. How can you look the taxpayers in the eye and tell them that you're truly doing the job they elected you to do when you're crisscrossing the state running for governor? I know what it takes to run for governor. I'm doing it every day. I took a leave of absence from my small business in order to run. Candidates who are running for public offices that they don't currently hold shouldn't be doing it with the taxpayers' money when they're supposed to be doing the job to which they were elected. Nor should anybody who is convicted of a crime against the public trust be taking a government paycheck. They should all resign. And I've been running a little contest in my own mind to see who the most arrogant of the Biden administration cabinet officials is, and there's lots of competition for that title. Up until now, I've thought it was Merrick Garland, and I still do, because of his inordinately arrogant letter of early October suggesting that the FBI get after parents who want to go to school board meetings and express their concerns about the way their kids are being treated in school. But this week came some pretty stiff competition from Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas, who is incredibly arrogant. He was asked about the nearly 2 million illegal entrants into this country this year, illegal immigrants coming across the southern border, and he didn't know the facts. He pulled the old Jen Psaki line about circling back and getting them the facts that he was supposed to come prepared with. And when he was asked about the Biden cages, all he did was take issue with referring to them as cages until he was shown photographs of what's going on at the southern border under the Biden administration, which the media seems strangely silent about. We'll talk about that a little more next week, but right now there's neck and neck competition between Mayorkas and Garland for the most arrogant person in the Biden administration. Watch for Pete Buttigieg coming up on the outside. And although it's the Saturday before, next week we will have passed Thanksgiving. So I wanted to make mention of a great American holiday, one that began with the earliest settlers to our shores, bringing the tradition with them from Europe. And of course, 1621 in Massachusetts colony is the one that we talked about when we were kids and read our history books in school. But the fact of the matter is, a couple of years before that, there was a major similar celebration in Virginia. But all of that matters not. we have a history of giving thanks to God for all of the benefits and blessings that He has provided us. Abraham Lincoln put it into national effect with the signing of a proclamation back during his administration, but when the Continental Congress was meeting in York, Pennsylvania, they had a proclamation naming Thanksgiving as a specific national holiday. And finally, Franklin Roosevelt set it as the fourth Thursday in November. But the key is this: it is time for all of us to take a moment, to pause, reflect, and give great thanks with hearts full of gratitude. One of my favorite hymns is, "Now thank we all our God, with hearts and hands and voices, who wondrous things has done, and in whom His world rejoices, who from our mother's arms has blessed us on our way with countless gifts of love, and still is ours today." That's my prayer for all of you as we celebrate Thanksgiving and give thanks to Almighty God, because that is truly the best 60-ish seconds of your week.